Well, hello again, YouTube. It's PD2 Finger now. This iron here I got from AliExpress. It's rated as an 80-watt iron, and you have to hold down the power button for like 18 seconds for it to turn on, and it doesn't get hot enough to melt solder. This is like a $10 iron, mind you, and it's got a real thin cable, which I like the thin cables, but um, this this is maybe a 30, and the buttons, it's always shutting itself off, and it's never hot enough. So yeah, this design here with these, I would not recommend this. I got this. This has a heavy duty cord on it. The iron that I ordered um, was a different iron, but they sent me this. I ordered a 90. They sent me this 80, and I didn't catch it in time, so my 15 days are up. So I got screwed on both of these, but this one has a little adjuster. Anytime you see those adjusters, I don't like that. I do not like the adjuster. The thing with these cheaper irons is you can't turn them down because they barely get hot enough to melt solder as it is what my experience is. Maybe you get them and they're really hot and you're like, why would you ever need that much wattage for a little board? Well, uh, I'm not always doing little boards. I'm doing large connectors and large gauge wires, and they're not rate. They are not. They don't produce the amount that they're rated for. Like if it says it's 80, it's maybe 8. This one here has this button, and you hit it, and several moments pass, and then it comes on. Any of the irons that they sell from China that you see has this design, this melted. It melts itself. Now I put JB Weld Automotive Epoxy on there because that's the best glue that I have here. And after I did that, it produces an awful chemical aroma. An awful chemical aroma. Now, forgive me for speaking out of turn. I've got a hunch that all of this stuff is the same. The 30, yeah, these heating elements are identical. They're the same. But they claim this one has a steel piece here, so the surface area is a little less where it connects. So I know it's like the old timers would want to say, well, you get what you pay for. What did you think you were gonna get? And like call me an idiot or whatever. I'm making this video so maybe I can prevent someone else some weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth, because I know how it is to think, well, oh, I can go and spend $75 for the Weller 40-watt kit, the base, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go and get the American-made one. And Bob's your uncle. Or I could go on Ali and maybe save, I'm a guitar player, so I'm not going to be doing a real lot of heavy soldering. And you think, oh, I can save a couple bucks. This is what you can do with these irons. Now, like I could go on and on and on about this topic, like about wanting to, like the only thing that it was about for me was getting cheap tips in bulk. Even if they weren't great, I could replace them because they were so cheap. And now the quality of the materials they're making out of them is really low. So that's kind of gone out the window. If you're gonna get a soldering iron and you're not just going to be doing little through hole stuff, you think you're going to need more. The design where it has the metal plate that's screwed in my opinion, that's a superior design. That's an older design. If you could find one that has a wooden handle, man, those were good and they get hot. But see, you have to in my mind, ultimately, I am looking to strike a balance between functionality what am I talking about here? Strike a balance between are you going to be able to find replacement tips at a decent price. I went and bought this Nippon. It's a 60, this is my Nippon 60 watt. And look at it. We got this off of the one. I'm thinking I could put this on here. It would work really well. I'd have to cut the cable again though, so I don't know. I bought this iron a while ago, and I didn't look at anything except for how it was constructed. I just saw this design here, and I know they're good. And Nippon, I've heard of Nippon. Don't they make spark plugs, or am I imagining things? The claim was that it had a long-lasting tip. This is the tip. It's 75 millimeters, and it's got a ring around it. Well, I started using this iron, and I liked it. I wore the tip out, and then I realized I couldn't find replacement tips for it. So you need when you're like, there is no, like, I don't have a good solution to tell you, oh hey guys, go on Amazon and get this soldering iron, because that's the one that's, it's affordable. It's not a piece of junk that's going to literally melt in your hand the first time you use it. It actually what a concept. It gets hot enough to melt solder. So it puts me in a frustrating place of not being able to offer a real affordable solution for a soldering iron that's going to run the gamut of my needs, which is it needs to get hot enough to solder, like if I'm doing 1/4-inch jacks for guitar work, or real heavy gauge wire for some amplifier I'm putzing around with. I need a significant amount of power. I'm also looking for it to have replacement tips that are on the market. I did find one place offering these tips. I had purchased a tip for this before, and it came and it didn't have the ring. It didn't have the ring. There's a ring around the top here. That ring that holds it in. So today I spent $15 to supposedly get 10 original Nippon replacement iron tips for this iron. So we'll see if they come. And in the meantime, I have the Weller 40. It's called a WL. Could you bring that here? I want to see if I can put this. It's called a WL100, and it's the Weller is a soldering iron manufacturer that's. It seemed like maybe it was an American company at one point, but the point that I'm trying to get at here is you can get the tips that I was talking about getting the bulk tips. This is a 40 made by Weller. The Weller stuff is not really expensive, okay? It's not super expensive. There's a, I don't like the set screw. You can get these replacement tips cheaply on AliExpress. They're not solid, which I think the original tip in this was solid. I think it was. The other thing is that these replacement tips are not as long. They're shorter. So the amount of contact to get this tip hot it's less. It's almost a quarter. It's a significant, like I have a AliExpress, I used to get these a bag of 10 for $1.99 shipped. That's before Sleepy Joe and COVID and everything, or Trump. I need to blame Trump. Can't say anything bad about Biden. Kamala. They're good. Anyway, guys, I sorry I don't have a better video for you, and in me saying that, please, if you know of a solution for this that makes a little bit more sense than what I'm doing here, I'd love to hear it. My plan for now is that I have not authentic but highly reviewed 6-pack of Weller tips coming. So I can pull this junky one out and put in the real Weller tip, and then I'll have 5 left of that, and I'll just be buying higher grade, because I'm not going to put those cheap tips in this thing. I'm not going to do that. As a Weller product rated at 40 watts, this thing should get hot enough to do the job if it has the right tip. Okay. Now, and then for bigger jobs, I got this guy, and I got another one. It was like an $8.99 on Amazon. It's a 30 watt. It's a green one. I'm not going to go over there and look it up. You can find it if you need one. It's the green and yellow. Doesn't have any digital display or switching. It's just an iron. And I'll be honest with you guys. Maybe if you're young, like I don't need to brush my teeth with my soldering iron. I don't need to log in to Grinder on my soldering iron. I just need it to fucking solder. Okay? So that's where I'm coming from. I'll have this with 10 replacement tips. Hopefully those will work and be the correct diameter and length and good material. But it's just kind of a bummer. It's like, for the longest time I was getting those the 30 or 60, maybe they were 60. There were these little pencil irons. They were blue. And then I got, it had a little yellow spinner on there. I would tape over that, a little adjuster. I hated that. It was this style at the end, but they were well enough made that they didn't fall apart. And I was using those. I used those a lot. For years I used them. And then the quality. The quality of those units went into the toilet. I got a gray one that was cheaper. Like I used to pay like $7 for those. They were like $6.99 for this blue. I think it was a 30. And oftentimes they would sell them in a kit with a little bit of solder and some extra tips and a little tin stand, and they would charge you like 10 for that. Well, I got a gray one the one time. It was cheaper. That one came and it wouldn't get hot enough to melt the solder. And that was like that was like maybe 10, 15 years ago when I got that gray one. And they were good for a while, and I had some that I used for many years. And then the last one that I got wouldn't melt the solder. It's like they realized, like, hey, we're selling these Americans this stuff. Like some bean counter comes in and goes, what's this? This part here that you're buying, we can do that cheaper. Let's get the really cheap one and give it to them. And then, you yeah. Look at that. Look at that. And you can see the material is crumbling and falling apart inside of it. So ultimately, of course, you're going to buy from someplace like AliExpress. You're going to buy a tool from AliExpress like an idiot, and you're going to think you can get away with doing that. Well, I hate to tell you guys, Empty. How often do I have the soldering iron on in this house typically? Like twice a week?
2 to 3 times a week, I would say.
Yeah, I use my iron.
It's on for a long time.
I use my soldering irons for a long time. I really do. And I like this switch. It's a shame I guess that's all. This here is garbage. So yeah, at least I'm getting some little things to play with out of this deal here. And again, I know it's easy for you to say, well, what do you think? Trying to buy a tool from a shady place like AliExpress, and I've got to be honest with you guys, I was doing this for like how long was I using those blue pencil irons? It was like the whole time I was doing pedal building.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even tell you.
That's all. And we didn't. Did I ever complain about those? I loved those irons.
Very much, no.
They were cheap. They were $7. They were $6.99. Then all of a sudden the price went down on them. The price went down. They figured out a way to use some cheaper materials. They had a bean counter. They had a guy who doesn't solder. They came in and we can, instead of this, we can use this. And at that point, those tools became completely useless to me. So that's the state of affairs as far as the cheap soldering irons go. If you guys have any recommendations for me, I would love to know. I would really like to get something. I mean, I think like this Weller thing, it's just not me. I don't know. I don't like this iron. It doesn't fit in your hand. This does not fit in your fucking hand. And Weller does this on purpose. You see that? That's how long a soldering iron needs to be. Even the cheap Chinese guys know it. But they put this in the kit and they go, oh, well, they'll upgrade. They'll get it. They'll buy a bigger iron. Because this, it just doesn't feel good in my hand. And I don't know. Even the idea that it says Weller on it is kind of like I'd rather have a no name. I'd rather have the real like my brother works on cars, and he has a thing about having too much tools. He hates having tools, and all of the tools that he keeps will be tools that look like they fell out of a children's toy chest, like a little pink screwdriver that's rounded on the end. He's got all these tools, and I think that's so when he's working on other people's cars, they'll see his tools and go, "Oh man, this poor guy. I'm gonna give him an extra $60 because that's how much a bag of his crack costs." Anyway, you guys, if you've got any pointers or tips about where a decent soldering iron that gets hot enough to melt solder, that doesn't melt itself, love to see that in the comment section. Buyer beware, take care of yourself, hug your pets, and peace.